Hello and welcome to another video from Midas Touch Toys, Games and Collectibles. And today we're looking at the 1987 release by Dapol from their Doctor Who series of action figures and playsets. And this particular set we're looking at today is from the 25th anniversary series that they produced, or they were licensed to produce in 1987 for the upcoming 1988 season, which was obviously the silver anniversary season. And they had the license from 1987 right through, really, I think, until 2003. They did produce 3 different batches of figures. So you had the first batch was 87, which is what we're looking at today for the 25th anniversary year. They then produced another batch in 1989. They was supposed to produce the 3rd batch in 91, but they had a fire at their factory and they lost a lot of the molds. So they didn't actually produce the next batch of figures until 1996. So that was almost 10 years on from the original run. And then they did do a few collector sets, I think, which were later on in the early 2000s, I think right up to 2003 before the license expired. And then the new Doctor Who was produced, and obviously the license then went over to Character Options. So a little bit of brief history there for you on Dapol's Doctor Who merchandise. But what we're looking at today is the 7th Doctor, as portrayed by Sylvester McCoy. And this is the card that the figure comes on. So at the very top, it says Doctor Who, and you've got the TARDIS inside the bubble as it appeared in the opening title sequences from Sylvester McCoy's era of Doctor Who. And then you've got an image of Sylvester McCoy as the Doctor from his opening episode, which was called Time and Arani. And it says the Doctor, a Time Lord from Gallifrey, and you've got the Dapol logo at the very, very bottom. Okay, so that is the front of the card. Now, before we have a look at the figure itself, what I'd like to do is just turn the card around and see what we've got printed on the back. Okay, so I've turned the card around and this is what we've got on the back. So again, we've got the TARDIS inside the bubble, as from the title sequences. And it says Doctor Who from Dapol. And it's got not suitable for children under 36 months because of small parts, made in Hong Kong. And you've got the CE stamp there. And it says the Doctor, a Time Lord from Gallifrey. Mel, the last companion of the 6th Doctor and the first companion of the 7th. The Tetrap, the first monster to encounter the 7th Doctor. The TARDIS, time and relative dimensions in space, the Doctor's time machine. K9, the Doctor's personal robot dog computer. And the TARDIS control console. And it's got BBC 1997, licensed by BBC Enterprises Limited, Tetrap, BBC Pip and Jane Baker, and it's Dapol, Winford, Cheshire. Okay, so that's the back of the card. Let's turn the card back round and have a look at the figure itself. Okay, so I've turned the card back round to the front. I'm just going to zoom in on the figure. And you can have a good look at the action figure itself. Now, unfortunately, the sculpting on these figures is not great. They're not facial features. I don't think a great deal of effort has really gone into sculpting the faces so they look like the figure. I mean, it's just a basic figure shape with the colour hair of the Doctor, and they've really just painted his face to try and look like the Doctor, but the facial features are not good. I mean, you can tell it's obviously the 7th Doctor because of the way he's dressed, but the facial features is what lets these figures down, I'm afraid to say. I'm not overly impressed with those, but other than that, the rest of the figures is good. So he's in his hat, as you can see. He's dressed in his white shirt, his burgundy tie, his cream and blue and red jumper with the question marks. He's got his scarf around his shoulder, which is the grey scarf. And he's in his brown jacket. And if we just zoom out a little bit, you can see he's wearing his green trousers with white socks and black shoes. And he's also accompanied with his umbrella with the question mark handle. Now, sadly, or should I say fortunately, this particular figure is still sealed in the packet, so I cannot open him up and show you what it looks like. But however, I do have one of the figures from my collection. It's not the one in the brown jacket. This is the one in the grey jacket or the white jacket. But otherwise than that, is exactly the same action figure, the same face, the same movements, everything, the same clothing, apart from the colour of the scarf is different. Other than that, and obviously the jacket, other than that, he's exactly the same. And he's also got his umbrella here. So let's have a look at the size of the figure. So we are looking at a height of just over 10 centimeters, and that's from the base of his foot to the top of his hat. Actually, I think that's about 10.5 centimeters, and it's a little bit taller because of he's got his hat on. Width wise, if we measure across the hands, which is the widest point, we are looking at 4 centimeters, and depth wise, really from the back of his jacket to the front of his chest, we're looking at about 2 centimeters. So that gives you an idea of the figure, and let's just give you the size of the umbrella, because we're looking at a total of 6 centimeters, and the umbrella itself is 4 centimeters, and the handle, the question mark handle, is 2 centimeters, and it is the classic shape of the handle as he held in the television series. Okay, articulation wise, we've got the movement of the head. We've got the arms that go up and the elbows. Yeah, arms and elbows. Is there anything else there? No hands and no side movements. It literally is up and down. So we've got 2, 4, 5 sense of articulation. No waist movements. The legs go up and the knees go up. So we've got 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's 9 points of articulation on these figures. It's a shame the waist doesn't turn. That's a little bit annoying, and you can't turn the hands, which is a little bit annoying. So his hands have got to stay like that the whole time. So there's no way he can hold anything either. So the umbrella, you just have to hook onto his arm, just like he used to carry it around on his arm or in his pocket in the TV series. So you've pretty much got to do the same on the figure. So that's the figure. Say the articulation does let it down a little bit, and certainly the facial sculpting features let them down, which is a shame really, because other than that, they're pretty good figures. Now, obviously these were the first figures to be produced since the 1970s, which was the Dennis Fisher 12-inch figures. Were they 12-inch or 10-inch figures? I can't remember now exactly the size. I think they were 8-inch figures. No, I stand corrected. They are 10-inch figures, the Dennis Fisher ones, and obviously the Palitoy figures. So they were the last figures that were produced for Doctor Who, and that was back in the 70s. So there was nothing else produced until Dapol got the license in 1987 to produce the Doctor Who merchandise. And obviously, because of the success of the Star Wars figures, they decided to produce them on that scale, basically 4 inches. Which was a good concept at the time, as the 4-inch figures had become 3 3/4 4-inch figures had become the industry standard by then, and that was all down obviously to the popularity of the Star Wars figures. But so how well did these figures do? Well, you've got to remember, back in 1987, there was no internet readily available for anyone. There's a few people that had it, but not much. There wasn't a great deal of things going on. There was no such thing as eBay, or eBay was just beginning back in the 87. It really didn't take off until the 90s. And the same with Amazon, really. And these particular figures were only available through selected sellers, which were the speciality shops, really, places like your Forbidden Planets and specialist sci-fi and entertainment stores, not your regular toy shops, unfortunately. So they weren't as easy to find as you would have liked to have been able to find them. You could write in from our order catalogue, and then you could fill in an order form, send them away, and wait 28 days for your figure to arrive. That was always available to you. But the first thing you had to do was write in for the order form. You could also go to conventions. There was conventions held at Longley and in Blackpool where Dapol done events, and you could actually go and purchase items there. But what point I'm trying to make here is they weren't readily available to everybody as they are now. If the internet had been up and running back in the 1980s, these figures would have been worldwide. And I'm sure Dapol would have produced an awful lot more than what they actually did. But because Dapol were originally, or are, model train manufacturers, and so they have specialist outlets that market their models, and that's the same route they went with the Doctor Who figures, which is a shame, really, as I say, because they weren't readily available to everybody. And at the time, in 1987, we were crying out for Doctor Who merchandise. So didn't sell as well as they did, as they could have done. And obviously, because of the fire that happened at the Dapol factory, there was a big delay then from 1989 right up until 1996, when the next batch of figures were released. Which we was all desperate for at the time, I suppose, because of how can I say it? Because of the lack of merchandise from Doctor Who. Now, obviously, we're talking from 1987 to now. We're talking 37 years ago, and these figures now, trying to find them in the packets and mint unopened packets is an achievement in its half. You can pick, don't get me wrong, you can pick these figures up on most of the platforms these days. However, they are opened, they're separate from the cards, or they're missing bits, or the cards are all damaged and cracked and torn or what have you. So finding them in these mint, unused, unsold conditions. Incidentally, these figures that we found were from a closed down toy shop. They were in the back of a stock room, and they were in a big box, and they've been sitting there since the early 90s, and they've just been left in the storeroom. So hence the reason why they're in such good condition. But I say finding them like this is almost an impossibility. But as you know, we at Midas Touch have managed to find quite a lot of these figures, and they're currently available to purchase on the Midas Touch website, which you can get to quite simply by clicking the link below. It will take you straight to the website, and you'll be able to find this and many other vintage Doctor Who items, and many other vintage toys, games and collectibles. Come to that. There's over 10,000 products currently available on the website for you to view and purchase at your leisure. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because we are uploading videos for every new item that goes to the website. There will be something for everybody, and I'm absolutely sure you're not going to want to miss this, because we literally have thousands and thousands of new products which we're shooting videos for and uploading on a daily basis. So if there's something in particular you are looking for, something old that you've never been able to find, something quirky you might want to buy for a friend, or maybe just something from your childhood that you'd like to own again to help you recuperate those long lost childhood memories, well, stay tuned, keep watching, because you never know, the next item we upload could be that item you've been looking for. And believe me when I say, we have got some amazing items coming up soon. Very old, very rare, very vintage items that are just absolutely awesome. So stay tuned, keep watching, because we have got these items coming soon, and you believe me, you won't be disappointed. Okay, that is it for me on this particular item. I do hope you've enjoyed this very short video. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon.